Hey YouTube, what's up? Summer is upon us again. Normally this time of year is when I would be looking at tuning up my old string trimmer here, my old 2-cycle, but this year I've decided to go with Battery Electric. So when I was choosing it, the model I wanted, my priorities were I wanted to be able to use a battery that I already had. But more importantly, more than anything, I wanted to be able to use the attachments, like this rotor tiller, that worked with my old gas unit. So the Ryobi model that used the 18-volt battery was not available without the batteries. I was going to have to buy a battery anyway. So I decided just to go ahead and get this 40-volt version. I think that's going to be, my 18-volt was getting old anyway, and I think this is going to have the power that I need to do some good string trimming, weed eating. But more importantly, I think it's going to have the power I need to run this little device, which is very important to me. So I thought I'd just do a little video on how it goes together, and also, if it is going to work with that. I actually took that into the store where I bought this and made sure that it would fit up to it. And it says it will on their website, so I'm about 99% sure that it will. Well, this part couldn't get much simpler. Just a bolt with a 10mm head like usual. And there's a little slot that feeds right in there. I like to use a deep well socket because that way I can just use it like a thumb screwdriver until things start to get serious. And you just put a couple extra cranks on it, righty-tighty. And it also comes with a second head that uses these tougher cutters. Well, and it also comes with these wires, and the wires just feed right in there. These just snap on like that. So I'll have to do another video someday if I decide to ever use that. This would be, if we're doing heavier brush, things like that. I'm just going to use it strictly as a line trimmer. So now it's time to put our handle on, and actually tells you where to do it. Right, there's a little arrow right there. So kind of works similar to the other part. There's a little clip that goes in there. This time we got a wing nut, so you might want to move that up and down a little bit, but that's where they recommend. So yeah, a good place to start. Comes with this nifty little wrench, which fits right on there. So I think it's for when you're going to wind your string. Wow, that's some tough string right there. And then probably also, if you're going to take your head off, put the alternate head on, you would use that too, I would think. One nice thing about an electric unit like this is when you're having to, oh, that feels good. When you're having to move things around, you don't have to be concerned as much about dumping gas out or getting gas in your carburetor or something like that. So, okay, I'm going to presume that the battery's charged. I didn't see anything in the user's manual that said I should charge it before using or anything like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and plug it in here, see what happens. One nice thing about this one that I didn't know is you have a high and low power setting. So that's going to work out good if, for a small line like mine. You know, I may not need, or if you're not using this heavier duty head or the rotor tiller or something, you can save some battery by doing that. Of course, it has the safety switch that has to be pushed in. There you go, before that can start. So yeah, we got some battery there. Let's see if it has a readout on it here. We're about half up, so well, actually we're really low, but there's enough there to see if it's going to work. So let's go ahead and put our end on here, which is basically just take that handy little thing off, stab that oh, that is the bottom. Okay. Stab that right in there until it clicks. There we go. Got a nice ratcheting feature to it that I like. So let's see here. Safety switch in. Oh yeah. There you go. So here's the main thing I'm concerned with is, am I still going to be able to use my rotor tiller? Make sure I get it right. I guess you could just push it. I don't know if you have to stop at that detent. But anyway, I'm going to crank this down. Probably going to throw dirt everywhere. You know what? I'll be alright. Sounds good. Well, keep in mind that this is have this set on low, and that the battery only has one light out of like 5 or 6. So we'll try it on high here real quick. On the rotor tiller, you'd probably always use it on low, but alright, well, we know it turns, so put the battery on charge, get that charged up, and then we'll find out if it has enough power to actually do any tilling. Okay, so this unit comes with what I would call standard documentation, which is to say a lot. It's split up into 3 different booklets, which is kind of handy if you would know which one was going to address your question. Of course, you should look over all of them anyway before you start, which I did, but the problem is, you know, there's so much information in these. It's a very small letter size, you know, like an 8-point font or something. So, you know, when you're kind of excited to use your new product and get to work with it, you know, it's easy to overlook something. And in fact, they treat the cutting end of it, you know, differently than the body of it. It's like 2 separate items, and then of course we've got the charger. So earlier I said, well, I don't know if the battery's charged or if you're supposed to use it. If I had looked in the right place, chapter 3, verse 2. So, I mean, basically, all I needed to know, or all I needed was this one line out of this book, of 3 books, and it was just too hard for me to find. And it would have been nice if I could have gone to the website and you know, went to manuals, maybe brought up a manual that didn't have all the different languages, that the major things that you need to know, the most important things, are set aside, that you could read those instead of having to pile through, you know, all these different explanations of symbols and warnings and all this different stuff. I did go to their website, but unfortunately, features is the only icon that works. Specs, well, specs might work. Nope. No reviews. Manuals didn't work. So I guess the good news is most people don't really use the manuals anyway. They just start using it, which is kind of what I did. But I don't think running it for a few seconds on the battery was probably a big deal. The battery is charged now, and we know that because there's no lights flashing on it. It took a while to charge it, actually, so I wasn't able to use it yesterday, and we had rain last night, so I won't be able to today. Okay, one thing to keep in mind with this battery is you can't just push anywhere on the button to disengage it. You got to push on this gray area. See how that works? That releases the little catch here. Thing about this, it's a no, don't jump on the. Yeah, your feet are all muddy. I would rather not have you on my car. Could you just? No, I don't want to see that. Seriously? Are we going to do this now? Okay, how's that? Is that enough? Are we good? It's a big heavy battery. So here's how the battery connects. Just slides up on there. It's pretty heavy, but basically it just kind of balances. Once it's on there, it balances everything. I couldn't find a suggestion about where to set the speed for the rotor tiller, but I'm going to start off on low and then just see how that works. Maybe try high a little bit later. Okay, so that was with the power setting set on low, and I really don't see any reason that you would want to use anything else, really. I mean, if it was faster than that, it would have thrown a bunch of dirt around. But I guess you could use it. I didn't want to because I don't want to throw a bunch of dirt up on my sidewalk. But you know, like most electric products, it was very easy to use. You know, there's no cranking, pulling a cord and priming and all that. It's very quiet. So since I usually do my work, you know, at like 6 in the morning on Sunday, I'm sure my neighbors are going to appreciate me going to electric. You can see that dirt is pretty sticky. It's got a lot of clay in it, and that's the reason I'm doing this, is I'm blending in some different things that I hope will loosen that soil up a little bit. And also it was kind of wet, so I really didn't do a lot today. But I will be doing some more, and I'll shoot a little more video of that once the soil dries up a little bit. But very pleased with the way this worked. It had, I would say, just as much torque as my gasoline one, and power and everything. It's just, you know, just easier to use and quieter is really about the only difference. So okay, so I just noticed that I've been using it upside down this whole time, but hey, you know, this is actually the way it's supposed to look right here. You know, this way everything reads right side up. Hey, it still worked, you know. I put the handle on, rotated 180 degrees upside down, and just continued on from there. But you know, the good news is, yeah, it still worked fine, even though it was upside down. You might even like it better that way. I don't know. Well, the first thing I noticed about this machine is how easy it is to use and how well it works. The last thing I noticed is how light it is. I'm 60 years old. I got a bad L4 vertebrae in my back. I had torn meniscus last year. So that's very important to me for it to be light and easy to use, because that means I'm going to be able to work longer with it. Just starting at the bottom here, I'm not sure what's different about this than standard plastic line, but I like it. It wears good, it lasts a long time, makes a beautiful cut, and I can keep the other style in my other head because of the way this works. I can still use my old cutting head from my other gas trimmer if I wanted to. Not sure why I would want to, but you could do that. This ratcheting mechanism here, I'm sure it has a cool marketing name. I don't know what it is, but that works great. About 1/2 turn and you're down snug and tight, so very easy there. And it made a beautiful cut. I have an old lawn that's a lot higher than the sidewalk around it, and I'll show you a picture of what I mean by that. And when you rotate this around to put this up vertical, the angle and everything is just right. It was so easy to use on that, although you don't have to. I mean, I did a little bit of it without even rotating it, because since it's electric, I mean, basically you're just kind of deciding how you end up holding the handle, because it works just as good on its side, or as we found out earlier, upside down, as it does right side up. But when I rotated this around, I did really like the feel of it. and just really comfortable to hold and work with. Real pleasure to work with. One thing I noticed when when I turned it over is you can see your battery readout now. So much better than when you're using it upside down. I'm down to 1 bar, as you can see, because I not only did all the weed eating trimming on my yard, but I also tilled all the clippings up into the using the rotor tiller attachment. So this thing's had a good day's work, and it's ready for a charge, and I'm ready for a shower. So I might add a little bit more tomorrow, but I'm very pleased with this machine.